Hello everyone and welcome to another Terrainify tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how we make our Scrubland theme using a Ramp Spiral Outcropping. The full list of colors and products used can be found in the description below. So let's get started. For our first step, we're going to apply sand. We're using a fine grit sand and a small amount of medium grit sand. We're going to apply the sand to all the flat areas of the model, including the small overhangs. To apply the sand, start by applying white glue with a damp brush. You want to apply a fairly generous amount so that the sand will hold, but be careful not to use too much, otherwise the glue will shift after the sand is applied. As a helpful tip here, do this in increments so you allow yourself a glue-free handhold. Now sprinkle the sand onto the glue and gently shake off the excess. Do this for all the areas you want to have with a rough look. When you're happy with the look, it's time to seal everything with our thick sealer. You want to soak it for maximum adhesion. Now set it aside to dry for several hours or overnight. Everything needs to be completely dry before we can move on to the second step. Step 2 will be to base coat the entire model in black. You will want to be a little bit gentle when brushing so you don't accidentally knock off the larger pieces of sand. It's possible that the paint will reactivate the glue and cause some of the sand to come off, so be careful not to work any areas for too long. You can always do touch-ups after the first layer of paint dries. If you do end up removing some sand, just wait for everything to dry and then reapply it. Once the model is base coated, set it aside to dry. Step 3 will be dry brushing, and for this step we are using 4 different colors. Starting with a rich dark brown or burnt umber, dry brush the entire model and then let it dry for a few minutes. So next we're going to focus on the vertical areas of the model. Starting with a medium brown, dry brush all the vertical areas. It's okay if some of the vertical areas have sand on them. Now we are going to dry brush a lighter brown over the vertical areas. You should see a very nice contrast between the flat areas and vertical sides, while it also brings out all the details really nicely. Now for our final dry brush color. It's a very light tan or off-white. For this color, we are only going to focus on the flat areas. Dry brush all the flat playable areas as well as any horizontal parts of the larger overhangs. And that's it for painting. I really love this final painted look. For our last step, or step 4, we're going to add some plants to finish off this theme. We're using 2 colors of grass tufts, a yellowed grass and a brown grass, along with a yellowish coarse flock. Starting with the coarse flock, place your glue first and then gently press into the flock. Try not to make the flock areas too big since Scrubland is an arid theme. Now you can do all the spots of glue first like I've done here, or do one spot at a time. When you have all the flock spots you want, it's time to add the grass. So glue in place some of the tufts around the flock for a nice small grouping of plants. And place a few individual tufts and small groupings around the playable areas and on some of the larger overhangs. Once you're happy with the look, it's time to place a little bit of the sealer on the coarse flock to ensure it's staying in place. Now admire the finished look and set the model aside for its final drying. Scrubland's a fantastic standout theme for any table. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also check out Terrainify.com for this model and others, along with their STL files. And be sure to follow us on Facebook for sneak peeks of new models and more. Thanks for watching.